Right, it's the first, weekend of 2022. Well, it's Friday the whatever it is, 7th. We'll come to that in a minute. What a phenomenal piece of luck we've had. Alright, and this video is a dish best served. Well, we'll come to that big old beast a bit later on. How good is this one though? What a stroke of luck. I think we're going to have some ultra fun this weekend. And how apt is this with toilet brush tubes? We're going to have some fun with that because, well, 2021 was a bit poo, really, wasn't it? And, when you need a clean poo, you use a toilet brush, I suppose. Boink. We'll come to that in a minute as well. Phenomenal. Luck, and even more luck because of one of my favourite bands, actually Heroic. And these guys are phenomenal. Go over there and give them a little like. They've given me permission to use some of their music. Alright. Absolutely phenomenal. Love it. Restless, mate. What a tune. Love it. Can't get enough of it. So, when I start tinkering about, working things out a little bit, we'll have a little listen to that, won't we? Awesome. Right. That's all the romance done. And I hope that you're all having a phenomenal start to a new year. We're going to get to it. And what a stroke of luck we've had. So, with beer in hand, let's go. We're talking long range, let's go now. Long range Wi-Fi. Let's have it. Let's go for it. How good is this one? Right, here we go. Really common problem that a lot of people have. And it can get quite big, actually, in terms of distance. I think you can see what's happening there. You have your Wi-Fi in your house. Wherever you put your router, right, you'll find that the signals are not very good, are they? That's a bit rubbish. We don't really like rubbish, do we? No, we don't. It's even worse if, say for argument's sake, you have an outhouse or a shed. Now, this is a video as well that's also dedicated to jam noise and also for Lamb Raver, who I've been speaking to, because the whole same kind of thing could apply to boats as well. You'll see what's going on here. Right, so if you have your router down here, right, yeah, you can sort of get signals in your house, depending on where your router is, but it's a little bit crap, isn't it, if you have a sort of outshed. Right, that's beyond the whole 50-metre mark. Well, you could cable it across, but that's boring, we don't like that. And then it means throwing a load of sort of network cable all the way down your garden. Well, we don't want that, and we certainly don't want to be running any wires over. That's a bit rubbish, but I have a solution for you, and it works really well. Alright, I've done this before. It's pretty cool. Alright, now forget all of this other stuff that you've seen on YouTube before about these whole Pringles cans. Alright, there's a lot of these things going about. Let's just sort of cover that now before we really get into this. Alright, so these whole kind of Pringles tubes things, you've seen them, and then people proclaim that they've built these glorified Wi-Fi antennas. That's pretty cool. But they're not really very efficient. And it requires massive amounts of soldering and a lot of complicated maths to sort of work out. Turns out we don't really sort of need that, because, and I will leave all the links in the description bar below, there is an easier way of doing it. Now, I also run into some more luck as well, in the way that I managed to pick up one of these portable satellite dishes. No, not the big beast in the background. That's for another thing. I've even got one bigger than that. We'll feature that. No, I got this dude for all of, well, it was about £3, but I only paid 50p for it in the end because I found £2.50 on the floor. How good is that? Problem is, it's got this sort of, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, yellow mark across that. I think maybe somebody was using it as a frying pan or something. I don't know. What is wrong with that? That's interesting because, yeah, you've got WOKFU, or WOKFI as it's known as. We'll come to that later. Anyway, let's just quickly pause out and get to the main signals of this, shall we? Okay, right, cool. So, when it comes to extending the range of your wireless in and around your house, or even further if you've got a boat, there are ways you can do it. And some of these things actually are, going to help you out a little bit. Alright. You can get something like this, which you can plug into your laptop. Alright. That means dismantling your laptop essentially, and then plugging in a Wi-Fi adapter. This one was scavenged and sniffed from a router. And then it means modifying all that and dicking around with that. Too much effort. We'll chuck that over there for now. Alright. Now, you can also get these. So if you're using a tower, right, so it's just a PCI adapter with a removable aerial on it. Those are kind of useful because you can actually change these aerials out and get better gain on them. Again, when it comes to our little setup here, it's going to still be awkward, isn't it, really? It's still a bit pants, isn't it, actually? And it doesn't solve the problem with another remote location. Right? And that would actually technically require a desktop machine, although you can get PCI to USB converters, which is handy, but then that isn't going to be operating probably nearly as efficiently, and then you'd have to still mount that thing outside. So that's a little bit rubbish, isn't it? Right. So what other options have we got? Well, now we can look at our sort of wireless hacking kit. And there's quite a lot in here. Next up is this guy, right? Such as these Casings wireless adapters. Now these are good because you only need a USB connection to either your desktop or your laptop or whatever, and they're great. Right? Because unlike all of these other options so far, these would require you to split your aerials on them. When you split an antenna, you're going to increase noise gain, which we'll cover a sort of later video, and we'll cover all the maths in that. You'll start to see how this all kind of ties in. At least with this though, it's only the USB line to either your desktop or your laptop. Then from here on out, you can chuck in an antenna, such as that size, or that one. And they come in a whole variety of styles, and you can even get them. That's one you've already seen, but you can also get these sort of patch panels, which will do the whole same kind of deal. Alright. One of my favourites, actually, though in terms of network card, you'll like this one, is the good old-fashioned TP-Link. And you can still find them. It's that exact one. Now the cool thing is with this, you wrap them up in lucky tape or seal them up in sort of something that looks like that. You can chuck them outside. Still requires an antenna on that. Right? That's kind of cool. And that could provide the basis of the whole WiFi thing. So you dangle that at the right sort of, well, it's a parabolics, it's not that. Parabolics, that's it. Parabolic curve. We'll sort of cover that. A later one in terms of the math. But yeah, you can do, or even mount that onto an LMB arm and then use a dish as a reflector. So that's another way, or you can even use these Signal Kings, which have 2 antennas on it. And it's all kind of pretty much the same deal from there on out. Now these are all well and good, because they'll improve your range by about, say, 30-40% or so, but that's still a bit crap, isn't it? Turns out that there's an even better way of doing this, because all of these antennas so far are what's called omnidirectional. Omni, meaning with this, when you've got that sticking up, all the signals are spreading out all over the place, which is all right if you want to cover wide area, right? If you want line of sight, well, you need it directional, and yeah, that's not. But if you were to stick that in something like a can, or a cantenna, so in other words make a hybrid, then that's a different story. And I think you'll like what I've come up with. I think you will. And it's just by sheer luck. Using good old-fashioned Tesco's toilet brush holders. Oh yeah, I'm being serious. Because it turns out all the mathematics checks out on it. The diameter of that, right, from sort of point to point, is around, well, it's actually 90 mil. That's perfect. I'm going to show you this. It's fascinating. You'll love it. And it will massively increase your range. Now, if you were to add that in front of a dish, mount it, so in other words that the whole signal's being focused onto that dish, you're going to reflect all of that massively. Right? And you'll be looking at huge distances. The higher up you get the whole system, the further the range you're going to get, because you have to allow for the sort of curvature of the Earth, but that's the whole story for another day. I think you're going to like this though, of just how lucky I've got. I think what we'll do is we'll play Heroic's music, and I'll just put it together and show you, sort of. But I haven't got the means at the minute to drill the holes into our sort of toilet brush holder yet. I'll probably do that tomorrow because I'm waiting for other parts, amplifiers and such like. But just before we do that, I'll show you the whole kind of deal with the toilet brush. Right, so that's the whole thing. Let's just chuck this down here, because what we're going to want is to make sure that electrically it is going to carry a continuity. And it will do. Watch this. You'll love it. It's fascinating. There you go. How good is that? Look, see? Perfect continuity on that. See? Even on the inside. You should still be able to spot on. I think this is going to work really well. Fascinating. As if £4. Right. Oh, well, why are we throwing that around? That's a good time to say get bell on. There you go, see. Now, toilet brushes, good for cleaning toilets though. Right? I personally use dynamite. Coof. That's why I'm having to buy new toilets all the time. We don't really need the end of that. Can use it. You just unscrew that. And now, chuck on a new thread, now you've got drill attachment for cleaning stuff using a drill. How good is that? We'll feature that one probably on other hacks. We don't need that now. Actually, yeah, we do. Because it's sort of... Well, this goes on to... Oh yeah, it's that, isn't it? Onto the handle. Like that. And then you've got the lid that goes on there. You don't need that plastic. And you sort of see how that is. Right, cool. Right, awesome. As we said, the diameter across this is perfect. Right, that top piece, sticking it around there, how good is that? We've got a perfect drill guide now, haven't we? When we come to actually building this up, you'll see where I'm going. So, what we now need is one of these. You get these on Amazon. Essentially what it is it's an antenna which is suitable to be mounted outside. It's got a screw bracket, and that will connect to your Wi-Fi card, meaning no soldering. And it also has a bracket on there. And again, we'll actually look at that in another video about how we properly get all of this assembled. What I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to have a little tinker about and see if I can get that dish to sort of stand up, and we'll work that one out. I think you might like it, and we'll sort of see how that one goes. We'll give it a go, I reckon. So that should only be a few minutes, and we'll see kind of what results we get. In another video we'll look at tearing down these LMBs and show you how satellite dishes actually work, but for the main part I don't need to see that. What we're going to do is actually see if we can get this thing to stand up and kind of try and put this together into something that's sort of plausible. Excellent. How good is that? Then we can get line of sight. And as I said, I'll cover all the maths behind that in an upcoming video. Hey, I think we should give this one a go. Cheers, Heroic, as well. Love you lots. We'll give this one about 4 minutes and see what we can come up with, I reckon. We'll see.
This is the last, so I tell you, my friend, it's all unwritten, but we came to this end. It's sad, it's true, but it's nothing you can do but accept that your world is blue. Moments in life, minutes you paid, fade. Will always be mistakes, nothing right you made. You gave head to the corner in the hall of shame. That be the place where you reach your fate. With a human as a leader on the top of the chain. They want to keep you as a dreamer and cause you the pain. Protect the veins, don't let them rain. There is no way back once you are going insane. You have to break safe walls to build up new. And be proud if you even get the right to be you. Cut yourself through, there's a heaven on the other side. With a world so wide where you can forever ride.
Restless, lonely one, commence the holy run. The centerpiece you won is nothing but the sun. Broken, penniless, you feel inadequate. There's not much you can do except your world is blue.
To reach the top of the place and put the flag on the mountain, be the king of your space. Come on and use your strength and spit your words. For everything that is evil, there is always something worse. For the first, you do not deserve to be observed. As I got 10 questions you can never reverse. What you did, what you done, but control what you do. Turn your back on them and there will be a future for you. There is
those who never got their freedom on their paper. For those who lost the path somewhere in the heart. Restless, lonely one, commence the holy run. The centerpiece you won is nothing but the sun. Broken, penniless, you feel inadequate. There's not much you can do except your world is blue.
Oh mate, gotta love that sound though, innit? Oh, that was ear porn. Oh mate, it's on my phone, it's on my sound system. I've got it all over. Right. Anyhow, we're back on this. Right, let's have a quick little look at this. Anyhow, right. So what we're talking about with that whole LMB stuff. Cantena will come in handy with that because we're going to look at that moreover. But the idea was to actually concentrate all of the signals, much like what we have with a standard satellite dish. This should be fairly explanatory. And the more that we tilt our dish sort of on that axis, you'll see how all of the sort of radio waves are guided. Now, the higher that we mount this, the bigger the distance we can cover. Alright. Again, all of the math on this we're going to cover in other sort of videos, but you'll get the whole point here. Alright. So we need to work out our parabolics. No, I keep getting that wrong. Parabolics. Sorry. Parabolic. Alright, so it's the curvature of our dish, which is essentially our reflector. Now, generally, this is done from working out sort of your diameter and the focal point and the depth of that. Looking for the focal point, which normally on these, if you look where the four sort of bolt holes are. Well, this is roughly in the middle. Now, that's if it was mounted for the original LNB, which has the frequencies there, which is somewhere in the region of between, sort of 10 and 12 gigahertz. So this, to allow for 2.5 and 5 gigahertz, would have to be moved either further or forward. And that's the whole point of the math here. Right, so the LNB, which is sort of the whole low noise block, is what your LNB is, that is low noise block. The LNB arm would be dictated, essentially by your frequency you're running with, which also comes into the mathematics of your dish, which we would need to figure out. So it may be that the dish LNB arm has to be extended or shortened. On this, it's not too much of a difficulty because we can remove the 4-arm bolts here or even extend it. Now, if we had to balance that, no problem. Where I screwed in a base here, I can move that further here by adding a metal bracket to counteract the sort of centre of gravity on it. But assuming it stays that way, it's perfectly fine. Right. This size of the arm will be dependent on its frequency. And the LNB is between 2.5 and 5.6. Right. And the sort of distance and size will be determined by that, as you see. Then it's just a case of get the line of sight right. So, in other words, if you're only aiming somewhere relatively close by, you tilt the dish downwards a little bit. If you were going to go a bigger distance, well, you would sort of tilt your dish at the angle. That's interesting because if you wanted to really go huge distances, then you need to start mounting that dish higher up to allow for the whole curvature of the planet. But if it's just a sort of boat or a garden shed, then generally speaking, as long as you're above sort of the whole 10 foot off the ground, you're fine. The maths sort of work out to this as line of sight. 1 foot off the ground, or about just under sort of 0.4 meters, will give you about 1.31 miles of visual. Right. 10 foot, which is about 3.5 meters, is 4.18 miles. 25 foot, which is 7.60 meters, if I've got the math right, is 6.61 miles of visual sight. So it has to be line of sight. And we'll cover this more later. Moving up 50 feet, just trying to actually remember this. It's about 15.2 meters, which is about 9.3 miles. 100 foot up in the air, direct line of sight. Well, that's 30, just over 30 meters will give you 12.5 miles well, no, sorry, 12 and a quarter. It's about 12.25. 150 feet. So the higher up that you go, the further you're going to see because of the curvature of the planet. Line of sight 150 feet or 45.7 meters is about, I think it's 18 miles. 200 foot is 60 meters. That was just under 61. So we're really getting some height. That's going to give you 18.72 miles visual line of sight. 300 foot, or about 92 meters, something like that, is just under 29 miles. And then 400 feet, which is 122 meters up, is 26 and a half miles of line of sight. So the higher up that you go, the further you can see because of the whole curvature of the planet. I'd better explain it. Yeah, let me explain it. Right, how are we going to do that? Yeah, I'll show you. In this sort of stupid diagram, that kind of explains it because of the whole curvature of the Earth. Point 1 to point 1 down here won't be able to communicate because of essentially the surface of the planet, plus whatever's in the way. This is the whole reason why radio towers are whacking great structures, so they can sort of deal with that. Now, when it comes to Wi-Fi, because it's in what's known as a higher gigahertz band, well, it's in the gigahertz banding, right? Signals don't tend to bounce off the ionosphere, right? Unlike what happens with certainly AM radio. For all of you ham radio guys out there, you'll sort of get the whole idea why you can then tune in and hear at night time radio stations all around, certainly hundreds if not thousands of miles, because basically essentially what you have, let's exaggerate the curve a little bit more, the planet. So you have a radio station here and a radio station here, but your ionosphere is up here. These radio signals are longer, so they bounce off of the ionosphere and carried. So that's why this distance across here could certainly be plus hundreds of miles, so 100 to even 500 miles or even more. Right. With Wi-Fi and particularly sat signals, it doesn't work that way because that ionosphere there, they're shorter wavelengths and they pass through and essentially go into outer space. The higher the frequency, yep, with the right power, the further they're going to go. This is the whole point of why satellite system for your TV uses 6, 12, well, more than 6. It's actually like sort of 10, 12. Some even may well use like 13 gigahertz. The signals are going to keep going as long as they're amplified enough. Again, this is something that we'll cover. But essentially for your home garden shed, or for a boat or something like that, you're probably not going to be needing to go to that sort of length. But certainly, if you want to start getting into ranges, yeah, 4 miles or more, you're going to want to be 10 feet above ground. And that's easy enough to do. Factor in the sort of curvature of the planet. So you'd be stood here, and it's the reason why you can't see the guy down there, because of essentially the curvature. But then you're going to have things like houses, tower blocks, people stood on tower blocks, and radio masts in the way. But again, I mean, if you're on a boat, you're probably not going to have that problem. But at ground level, you're only going to realistically expect to cover about 1.31 miles. As we said, 10 foot is 4 miles. So theoretically, if you were to take a big piece of open ground, such as a park or something like that, or even, check this one out, if you were to say, I'm going to draw a rather crap version of the UK, which that's pretty crap, and then you've got France down here. If you were to put yourself on the white cliffs of Dover here, well, that's nowhere near Dover for a start. You'd be about there. Right? The theory is, on the White Cliffs, you're going to be at least 400 feet in the air. That's interesting because then you would have a visible range of about 26 miles, which, yep, on a clear day, you can see France from the top of Dover. And France is typically low-lying. What I'm saying is, on an extreme level, you probably could take a system like this and adapt it, and theoretically pick up Wi-Fi signals from France. I might be tempted to give that one a go. Might be. But again, that's a story for another day, and it's a little bit beyond your garden shed or your average boat, eh? Anyhow, it's weekend. I'm out of here. On a final note, Heroic, mate. They are absolutely legends. Love those guys. Hopefully, I'm going to be allowed to use their logo. I might even spray that on this dish, or at least on one of the boxes for it. That would be super awesome. Like I said, go and give them a little like. They only have a few thousand subscribers, which is incredible, because with them, they did a lot of the music that Colin Furze has used. Colin Furze, I'm sure you've heard of him. He's an absolute legend guy, that dude. All sorts of wacky projects. He's had millions of views, millions of subs. He's a cracking guy. I just love his style. Great guy, great YouTube channel, and Heroic. Like I said, mate, wonderful band. Thanks again for giving me the permission to use the music. Dive over, it's Heroic. Give him a little like, give him a little listen. And as always, I'm going to cover this particular build in another video, and then we're going to really go into the maths with it. Probably more on the whole cantenna. I think I do need to cover that more, because I started off doing it, but then diverted from it, if that sort of makes sense. But anyhow, we will cover that. You bugger off, go and enjoy your weekend. I will see you in the next one, or you will see me in the next one, and we can hassle our signals as we get our parabolics right. See you soon. Love you lots. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you soon. Peace out. Smash it. Good one.